This is the Select Board meeting for September 2nd. First item on the agenda is a salute to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I make a motion we approve the agenda as written.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor? Aye.
I make a motion we approve the minutes of the last meeting as written.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We're going to forego the signing of the warrant as it has already been done, and we will speak more on that when we get to item 4 under new business. So, moving on to old business. We had a question last week about a letter to the IRS that neither Bill nor I were aware of. So, I went into the treasurer on Friday morning and I said, have we had any fines from the IRS? And she said, no. And I said, somebody has asked a question about whether or not we have received a letter telling us that we have been fined by the IRS. Do you know anything about this? And she said, well, we got a letter from the IRS telling us that we would be fined if we did not do X, Y, and Z, but I had already done X, Y, and Z, and so I did not give it any heedance, and I did not discuss it with you. So these are the letters in reprint that from Michelle. As per my conversation with Larissa this morning, I wanted to update you on my progress with outstanding information requests. Maine Revenue Service. Letter dated June 6, 2010, requesting $133.36 for outstanding 2009 third quarter withholding payment. After researching the payment, it appears that the payment was made last year. However, it was credited to the fourth quarter at the state level, and a refund check was sent earlier this year as a refund for the overpayment of fourth quarter taxes rather than applying it to the shortage in third quarter. On 8/13/10, a new check for the amount was reissued and mailed. A second notice came before the state had processed the payment sent on 8/13/10, and attached to this notice was a list of potential penalty fees the town would incur. The town did not and will not be assessed penalties because I processed this request within a timely manner. And that, I believe, is a thorough explanation of last week's issue. Apparently also we have sign appointments. Ms. Lorraine? What are we appointing? Oh, for the policy committee that we...
last week.
Okay.
Can I have the copy of the IRS money?
We have to do one at a time.
I think we can do them all at once. Can we appoint all in one bundle, or do we do each one
Well,
individually?
you appointed last week, you've just got to sign.
Just
the
got to sign them.
appointments.
Okay.
That's all. You named all your people last week
Okay, thank you.
in the minutes.
All right, thank you.
And they will have to come in and be sworn in.
Yes.
So those of you here, several of you here, you can get sworn in tonight, you know, if we get out before 8 o'clock. If we go overtime, she's gone home, so. You get sworn in with Jennifer.
That's 7.
6. Or 7, no, because we made the 2 together. 2 for 1.
Hopefully one has
Oh, no,
computer.
6. Deb Casey will certainly have computer experience, as will Steve. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm logging. Nope, I think that's all of them. All right. Thank you, Lorraine. All right, next item on the agenda under new business, election of a chair.
I nominate Larissa Crockett as chairman of the board.
I second.
Any discussion? All right, All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. All right, next item on the agenda is the role of the road committee. We had a road committee meeting last week, and from that came some discussion over where do road commissioners answer to? How does the road committee fit into that discussion? And how should we move forward with the road committee? And what is the role of our board and the road committee? And what is the role of our board in relationship to the road commissioners? So Lorraine and I on Friday, after dealing with the IRS thing, went through the town reports and found any mention of the road committee and the ordinance that establishes the road committee. So I'm going to read to you from the January 28th, 2002 special town meeting, Article 14. To see if the town will vote to re-establish the standing town road committee, members of the committee are to consist of 1, the road commissioners, 2, 1 member appointed by the Warrant and Finance Committee, 3, 1 member appointed by the Capital Improvement Committee, 4, 1 member appointed by the Planning Board, 5, 2 members elected at this special town meeting for a term to expire June 30, 2002. Thereafter, 2 members elected by the annual town meeting for 1-year terms. If not elected, they will be appointed by the Selectmen. Working with the Planning Board, the committee shall propose revisions to Article 5.6 of the acting zoning ordinance to create specifications for Class B and C roads based on the Camp Road Study Committee report adopted by the June 2001 town meeting. Proposed revisions to be considered at the 2002 annual town meeting. The committee shall make recommendations to the town meeting on roads proposed for acceptance as town roads. The committee shall act in an advisory capacity to the road commissioners. Finance Committee recommends adoption of the article. It passed, and that is the last ordinance warrant article that we were able to find that pertained to the road committee. So how I'm interpreting that, and I believe that we as a board in our conversations are interpreting that, is that the Warrant and Finance Committee, the road committee is not under the purview of our board, that the article is very clear that they are an advisory board to the road commissioners, which means that the road commissioners in turn do not answer to the road committee. They are there to direct the road committee as to what they would like advice on. The other role of the road committee by this warrant article is that they shall make recommendations to the town meeting on roads proposed for acceptance as town roads. That is the only place that I see interlap with our board. Because our board is the board that writes the warrant and puts it forward to the people, we then, I think, do have the right to ask the road committee to make recommendations on the roads we're putting forward in a warrant article for acceptance. Outside of that, I do not see that the select board has been given any authority within or above the road committee. Following up to that is what is the role of the road commissioner and how does that relate to our board? This is from the Municipal Elected Officials Manual that we have from MMA, and it says, Road Commissioner. Both the municipal officers generally and the road commissioner specifically are responsible for ensuring that municipal ways and bridges, quote, will be safe and convenient for travelers with motor vehicles, unquote, 23 MRSA section 3651. There has been much confusion about who makes the final decision concerning roads because the road commissioner is often elected and cannot be removed or formally disciplined by the municipal officers. Even in this situation, state law makes it clear that the municipal officers have the final say. 23 MRSA section 2701 states, in the absence of a statute, charter provision, or ordinance to the contrary, any decision involving the duties and responsibilities of the road commissioner shall be made by a majority of the selectmen whose decision shall be final. The road commissioner, therefore, while in charge of highway repair and maintenance within the municipality, must act according to the general policies or guidelines as determined by the municipal officers. Unless the municipality uses a very specific line item budget, the municipal officers have the authority to decide how money will be spent regarding road work and road personnel. The road commissioner has no inherent authority to incur expenses or enter contracts for the municipality. This can only be done if authorized by the municipal officers. The road commissioner's duties include the administrative details of employment and employee supervision, scheduling, purchases, equipment maintenance, equipment operation and road inspection, improvements and planning, etc., within the financial guidelines or road upkeep policies, if any, the Board of Municipal Officers has developed. 23 MRSA Sections 2701 through 2705. Since the town may be liable for injuries if the roads are not properly maintained, the municipal officer should focus on good road practices, not politics, in deciding what work will be done. Often, the road commissioner is the most knowledgeable person in this regard, so the municipal officer should take his or her advice into account. Likewise, the road commissioner may be a valuable source of technical knowledge if the municipal officers are reviewing bid responses for road work. My take on this, and I'm hoping to get other people's takes on this as well, as part of what we had discussed with the road committee, is that we have no charter, we have no policies in place as a board that tell us that we have the authority to dictate to the road commissioners. That, in my opinion, means that this statute gives the road commissioners the authority to decide how they wish to maintain their roads. And because we do have a line item budget that tells them how much they can spend, as long as they stay within that amount of money, we do not have the authority to intervene. Please come to the mic.
If I'm understanding that correctly, you people do not have anything to say, then why is it that you, Larissa, said that nothing was going to be done with Buzzell Road?
Because we as a board put forward a warrant article that failed, and we are therefore not allowed to expend money on a road that failed to be accepted.
All of this includes all of Buzzell Road?
No, just the
just part
section
of
that
it?
was mentioned on the warrant.
Okay, all right, that's what I was checking.
Any other?
Yeah, I have a point to make, I guess, if you will. Number one, that road committee to which you're alluding in 2002 did the work that it was charged with doing and was dismissed. This is an entirely different road committee than the one that was appointed in 2002.
I believe that if we're looking at the warrants properly, there was a road committee that was dismissed. This is the article that reformed the road committee.
Okay? Okay. Now, did you, when you read that, I thought I heard you say, in the absence of a charter or an ordinance to the contrary, that the board had the final word.
Shall be made by a majority of the selectmen whose decision shall be final. But it says, must act according to the general policies or guidelines as determined by the municipal officers. But we have no such policies or guidelines in place.
Okay, and your policy committee is going to address that?
We can discuss that as a board. That is certainly not something we have discussed thus far.
We're going to try and address every policy as we go through, but it's going to take time.
And whether, go ahead, please.
Yeah, if we could, we have set up this agenda and the agenda since we've been on board to do other business and have people come up and talk then, if we can get through this, because we have quite a bit to do, and then we can go into other business where everybody can come up and talk about all the issues that we're going to do tonight. So if you guys could sit down, and then we'll give you your time at the end to talk about this, I'd appreciate it.
You went from old business to new business.
Right.
But so quickly that there wasn't a chance.
Number seven is
to stand up on
other,
old
number
business.
seven is other business, and that's when we have made arrangements for people to come up and talk.
Okay.
Okay, so I'd appreciate it if you just give us a little more time, and then we'll give you all the time you need to talk. Thank you. Okay. Going live on Channel 26.
Next item on the agenda, Mr. Prazak.
Yeah, some people have brought it up to our attention that they would like to see it going live because of, you know, there was some delays for a while. I think we're up to date. I haven't watched the cable station. I look it on. We're not up to date yet. Okay. Here's the thing. We did research. We are capable of doing it right now, but we, as the town, if we go live, we come under the FCC. So if somebody comes up here as an inappropriate and we don't shut it off, then we can be fined just the same as ABC, CBS. They're not going to look at the town of Acton and say, well, it's just a little TV station. They have their fines based on what happens. They are a little more lenient because it is a cable station. But what we need in order to go live is more people. We need more volunteers. We need more cameramen. If we're going to go live, we have to have somebody in that booth. So if somebody does do something inappropriate, they can turn the switch off and the live feed is quit, because the live feed can't be controlled from there. But we also have to maintain records for up to 6 years of anything we videotape. So we have to have a cameraman also. So we have to have more people get involved in the cable committee before we can go live. We have had people from the school come up and say, you know, we'd like to see you start filming the school committee meetings again, especially when we get into tax season. We definitely want to see all of their meetings on their budget. But again, we don't have enough trained people that are willing to go out and do the filming. So we're going to put out a request to get more people. We get more people, and the staff for the cable committee gets them trained up, and then we can go live from there and hopefully get every meeting in town filmed at some time. But we are working forward to it if we can get more volunteers. Can you wait till the end?
Okay,
Until we get to other business?
okay.
Thank you.
How come other business? You're talking about cable right now, right?
What we're trying to do is, when we started out, we set up the agenda, that we go through our agenda, and then at the end, then we'll allow all public comments. So you could talk about any of the issues we talked about, but let us get through the agenda first. Thank you.
Next item is a change of our board meetings to the second and fourth Thursday. Clearly, we're at the first Thursday right now, but we would like to shift our meetings to only be the second and fourth Thursdays of the month. This will allow us to attend the other boards' meetings on a more frequent schedule, which leads us into item 5, which is committee and board liaisons. And we met on Tuesday and established them as follows. I will be the liaison to the road committee, to the planning board and zoning board of appeals, to the conservation committee, and to the assessing department and revaluation. Ted will be the liaison to the warrant and finance committee, to the cable department, to the forestry committee, and to the school board. And Bill will be the liaison to the recreation department, the fire department, the transfer station, and the general assistance program. There will be a copy of these liaison appointments, if you will, with the town clerk as well as in Lorraine's office. I will also ask if the board agrees to have Jennifer post it somehow on the select board section of the website, so that if you have a question regarding the cable committee, for instance, or the cable board, then you, instead of contacting all 3 board members and getting 3 different answers, or not knowing, one of us might think that the other person has addressed it already, you'll know, okay, I should speak to Ted, he's up to date on all things cable, and then when you have a concern, then he'll bring it back to our board during one of our workshop times. We can discuss it as a board and move forward. Same thing goes with the other assignments. So this gives us the opportunity to go, for instance, the planning board meets on the first and third Thursday. The planning board's a rather important board, and having no representation from our board at those meetings on occasion is probably not in the best interest of the town as far as keeping track of what's happening within the town. So we're going to give this a try. We think that we will be able to address all the business that needs to be addressed in the second and fourth Thursdays. If it does not end up being the case, we can look to readdress it at another time. But this is what we think will work out well for right now. We now have a full board of 3. It's going well, and we think that we can get the work that needs to get done with those 2 meetings.
Absolutely.
Next item on the agenda is the tax commitment. We have worked up our tax commitment worksheet, and Ted passed out the sheet there's 2 sheets that have been passed out. The actual calculation worksheet for tax commitment, which says at the top of it, 2010 municipal tax rate calculation form. The second sheet is a sheet that was put together by our treasurer. It shows the sources of town revenue that we have. It shows the estimates. When she says used 0910, she means estimates used for 0910 tax commitment. The actual revenues that came in during fiscal year 0910 are in your second column, and the estimated revenues that we, as this board, used for the 2010 tax calculation are in your far right-hand column. This is also going to be posted on the website, so people that are watching at home, or if you did not get a sheet, or if you lose yours along the way and you wish to revisit them, you can do so online. Do you guys want to go through it line by line? How do you wish to address this?
Yeah, let's go through it.
Okay. They should have been passed forward. Thank you, Bernie.
There's a whole bunch of them. There's
Okay.
2 different pages, Carl.
So the first, let's look at the revenues. Tax rate, just very briefly, we take the total amount of money to be raised through appropriation at town meeting. We figure out what we're going to be getting for revenue. Very basically, we subtract that out, and that tells us how much we need to raise through taxation. Okay, so revenue estimation is important because it helps to lower the amount of money we need to raise through taxation. So last year, we took in $368,229 in excise tax revenue. We are estimating that that we will be taking in $350,000 this year. Boat excise tax last year, we brought in $13,961, so we're estimating $10,000. Delinquent tax payments, we're keeping steady with our estimate from last year at $35,500. For building permits, we're also keeping steady. We have not seen any increase in building, so even though we did take in slightly more than our estimate last year, we don't wish to be overly optimistic. Plumbing permits, same thing, staying steady. For the town animal registrations, we just went up by $1,000 because we did take in 3,123, so we figured an estimate of 2,000, barring some sort of mass extermination of canines, would be safe. The Europe funds is a large difference this year. We have decided as a board to take the Europe funds and to not list them as revenue stream, but to separate them out into a capital reserve account and quote-unquote bank them. This will mean that next year, going into town meeting, if there is a capital road improvement, we will be able to say, this, like let's use the Sam Page Road project, sorry, Ted, as an example. We went to town meeting with a $90,000 proposal for that project. If we had banked our Europe funds from the year prior, we would have come to town meeting with a $22,000 warrant article request because the Europe funds, Urban Road Improvement Program funds, are there exclusively for capital road improvements. So in the past, we have used that money as our paving money, but where we have not had paving for the last couple of years, we need to make sure that we have actual capital improvements that we can use the money on. If we don't receive the money. When we are allowed to bank it, Europe actually, in our form, they give us that option. We think it's a better way to keep track of the money coming in and going out, that money has a very specific item that that's allowed to be spent on, so let's keep it separate from the general fund and put it in a capital reserve account so it can only be spent where it belongs. General assistance, we actually received $7,778 in general assistance reimbursement, so we have estimated at 6,000. Times are still tough. We expect our general assistance budget to still be fairly high, and we continue to expect to receive 50% of that return from the state. Tree growth, we kept steady. We don't picture anyone pulling out of tree growth in this particular real estate market. Agent fees, we kept steady. Recycling, because we actually had revenues of $22,241 last year, and because of our new baler providing a new revenue stream out of recyclables, we estimated it slightly higher this year at $20,000. And we kept interest at $15,000 because, as all of us are painfully aware, interest rates are in the tank if you are, on your savings and so forth. So that gave us a difference this year in total estimated revenues from last year. $478,000 is what we're estimating this year as our total. Our actual revenues that came in last year were $601,606. We think it's a conservative estimate, but that it's fairly realistic about what will probably come in. Moving down, we have school nutrition at $65,000, school Medicaid at $25,000. The phrase ed subsidy was used last year. It's being, I think it's the same title as general purpose aid for education. So last year, we had $335,661 coming in from the state. If you look down, we this year only have $73,088 coming in. That is a huge drop. That will come in just a minute as being very important. You toss in, by the request of our superintendent, we are including the ARRA funds. So we have a total from school revenue of $192,323. So the total town and school revenues expected is $670,323. We as a board are not choosing to move forward any undesignated fund surplus or any undesignated fund period to offset taxes. We would like to see our undesignated fund continue to increase to provide a greater level of financial stability to the town and security to the town. So the total revenue to offset taxes is $670,323. This is a sizable difference from last year. I think it's $344,000 difference from last year, okay? That is mostly made up through the difference in ed subsidy and from not sweeping 150 over from the undesignated fund. When we come into the tax calculation form, which is this one right here, we'll get to what everyone's waiting for down at the bottom first, and then we'll go back through. Is that good with everyone to kind of just ease? Tax rate for this year will be $10.95 per thousand. That is a 60-cent per thousand increase on last year. We have tried to mitigate that by changing our overlay number. Last year, our overlay was set at 91,000. We only used 13,000 of that last year. We feel confident that we can have 42,000 as our overlay number and still be within safe figures for the town. And by having that lower overlay, we're able to go closer to the minimum tax rate. If you look at lines 17 and 18, they show you what we had as a minimum tax rate and a maximum tax rate to go between. We had to choose a rate between $10.87 per thousand and $11.42 per thousand. The $10.95 per thousand is as close to the minimum tax rate as we feel comfortable with. The overlay is there to fund abatements and tax write-offs, and so we do need to make sure that we do have funds in there. Going through the sheet, the other one that I think we as a board agreed that we wanted to make sure to highlight and start bringing attention to, line item number 4, total of all homestead exemption values. The state, at the state level, has decided that homestead exemptions are no longer worth $13,000, that they are now worth $10,000. That is going to be seen on everyone's tax bill. Because our assessment ratio given to us by the Maine Revenue Service Property Tax Division was in the 90s, we are able to assess at 100% for homestead exemption. That at least is a positive thing. So everybody will be assessed the full $10,000 homestead exemption. The local taxable real estate valuation is the total value of the town in dollars. Personal property tax is the total value of personal property, mostly in our town, that comes from the camper trailers at the campground. And that gives us a total value base of $564,149,184. County tax this year also went up by about $17,000. That is an increase on this sheet. The municipal appropriation, do you have last year's sheet? The municipal appropriation,
That's the two I have.
and they're the same year.
No, I don't have last year's.
Okay. The municipal appropriation went up very little this year. I'm sorry for not having the 2009 in front of me to quote. Local education appropriation actually went down this year. Total revenue, state revenue sharing went down by a couple $1,000s, a little over. And then when you come to line 13, that's where this sheet becomes very important. Last year, on line 13, would have been the number $1,014,761. This year, that number is $670,323. There's that $300,000 plus difference in revenue. And because of that, we end up with a much higher number in line 15, net to be raised by local property tax rate. And that is where we end up with our tax rate for the year. Does anyone have anything they want to add to that?
That was
very scholarly, very good job.
Yeah, just, I wanted to add that the school numbers are not our numbers. Those are the numbers that were voted on at the school budget town meeting. So we just they gave us the numbers that were voted on already. So we're not using those numbers. We didn't come up with those numbers in order to do the tax bill. That's all done by the school committee.
If I can piggyback on that, I think it's also important to understand, on the state and federal levels, your legislative body gets to set your taxes, right? They get to decide if they want to increase tax or lower tax or expand the tax base. The same thing happens sort of at our local level. Town meeting is our legislative body. When we go to town meeting and we vote to approve articles, we are in essence saying we want to spend this much money with the understanding that we will be taxed accordingly. The difference is that this board then is charged with setting a tax rate that meets that appropriation demand. So we understand as a board that taxes have gone up by 60 cents. What that means is that for a homeowner whose house is valued at $200,000, that their taxes will increase by $120 this year. $60 for a $100,000 house, $180 for a $300,000 assessed value house. With that in mind, I would like to encourage everyone to look at the circuit breaker program, and when the time comes closer, I would be very happy to call Maine Revenue Service down to hold a workshop about how that program works and to help people apply for that. It is for people whose property taxes exceed 4% of their gross income. So for people that are going to be hit the hardest by this property tax increase, this is a program that should be able to help them, and we have the forms here, and we can try to make the connection with that program more accessible. That's what it is. Anything else, guys?
Okay.
All right, now, any other business?
The old business. About 3 weeks ago, I asked about your decision not to plow Buzzell Road this year. And you said that you'd contacted MMA and so forth and so on. And I asked to see the question that you asked MMA and their written response. And here we are, 3 weeks later, I still haven't seen that.
Have you come in and filed out a request for information?
Pardon?
Have you come in and filled out the application for?
I was told that I would have that. Larissa told me that she would give me that.
Mr. Hodgson, I do not remember this conversation. If you are asking as a citizen, Ted is correct. You are supposed to follow the protocol, which is to fill out a Freedom of Information Request Act.
I offered to do that the day I was in the office. You said that wouldn't be necessary.
I
You'd
do
be
not
happy to
recall
get it
this
for me.
conversation.
Okay, well, it is necessary, so if you'd like to have that, we'd be more than happy to get it to you. We can get it to you when you come in. Just go into the office, fill out the form, and we can, it's right on in our email, we can print it right out for you and get it for you, but we
Very
have to...
good.
Yep,
Very good.
We have to do it this way, so we treat everybody the same.
Not a problem.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Lopez.
I haven't seen you for
Ray
a while.
Lopez. Hey, how you doing?
Not too bad.
Good. Going back to number 2, which was role of the road committee.
Yeah.
And you sat there and you read the last article in quite detail. In there, within that, you talked about liability. I do believe that the town of Acton, I'm not sure of the year, but 44, 45, that the town of Acton accepted money from the state to build actually Buzzell Road.
Mr. Lopez, this is not meant to be a conversation about Buzzell Road.
Well, I'm actually asking about the liability part of it. I'm just trying to get a basis of where we're going here.
I think where we were going with the road committee was to better define the relationship between the road committee, the road commissioners, and our board. That is the purpose of the agenda item. Buzzell Road is enough to take up 3 or 4 meetings, and as such should be addressed as either a special meeting that we can hold to go over all of
Should
the
go to the road
information. I mean, it is not something that we're not prepared to discuss that this evening. Buzzell Road is not on the agenda. So the role of the road committee is to address What is the role of the road committee in relationship to the road commissioners? What is the relationship of the road committee to the board of selectmen? And that is where the article is coming into play and why it was being read, is to show that the road committee is an advisory committee to the road commissioners. And that the road committee is also charged with making a recommendation to town meeting on a warrant that our board puts forward regarding acceptance of a road only. So it was, the agenda item is there to clarify that relationship so that the road committee can be more effective in their work with the road commissioners this year.
Got all that. Now, if I can get back to my question and finish it. You spoke about this particular board being responsible for the liability. Okay, if somebody got hurt or something went wrong, that this board would then have to, if memory served me correctly of what you read today, was that this board was liable for any injury or of any such sort. And that's where I'm tying this, and I'm not questioning the road committee's role or anything, I'm questioning the liability and this board's responsibility to that.
It says, since the town may be liable for injuries if the roads are not properly maintained, the municipal officer should focus on good road practices, not politics, in deciding what work will be done. And I believe that the liability for us is, for instance, if there's a pothole in the road and somebody sees the pothole and they call the town of Acton, and Lorraine, please help me if I stumble. We have how many hours? 24?
24 hours.
We have 20.
To do something.
To do something, and that something can be to put a cone in front of that pothole to alert motorists that there's a problem there. If we do not do that, and after the 24-hour window, somebody slams into the pothole and breaks apart their car, then the municipality is liable for the damages to that car. That is the only liability I'm aware of when it comes to roads and the municipality. Am I correct about that, Lorraine?
Sure.
Right. So we are liable as a town if we do not practice in good faith when we are told about concerns that happen. So I think that where this comes in, why they mentioned being political, if there's a giant pothole in front of someone's house that this board just, had an argument with the day before, it would be very wrong of us to not repair that and fix that for the safety of the town, because we have 24 hours from being notified about it to deal with the situation.
I understand that. And this is where I'm coming from. In other places that I have lived across the United States, I understand this liability law, especially in Chicago, which you
It's a
have
different state.
2 seasons. You have construction and you have winter. All right. And a lot of the times when a lot of the vehicles were getting damaged or whatnot, then the town of Chicago, as, if I'm hearing this correctly, as would be the town of Acton, if you don't do anything, you're putting a cone on there or whatever the case may be, it's fine, but the liability goes, if nothing happens beyond that point, then I can bring my car repairs over to you. And the only reason I went back to Buzzell Road, and I'm not trying to bring this whole Buzzell Road situation in, is to the years when the town of Acton accepted money from the state to actually build that road.
That is a
Okay, can I
conversation.
answer
Yes,
this?
please.
I don't know if you know, I've been an educator for 20 years, and my peers tell me that I'm pretty good at a teachable moment, and I'm hoping that this was one of those. I have looked at the roads since I came in, and I've been in town 31 years, and I've been to a lot of town meetings where the private roads come up, and the private roads come up, and the private roads come up. I talked to Lorraine, and she explained to me how we'd done it in the past, and I know this because I voted on it. A private road would have an issue. They say, hey, we can afford to buy a culvert, but we don't have any heavy equipment. Would the town come over and do it? And the people at the town meeting would vote and say, yeah. And we'd send over the road commissioners, they put in the culvert, everybody was happy. I can remember grading private roads in the summertime. The law has changed that we cannot do that anymore. Buzzell Road is considered a private road according to MMA and everything that I've read since I've been here. But here's the thing. There is a lot of money at the state level in the DEP, and some of those roads are high on in their idea of where they want to spend the money. But you have to have a road committee, because on private roads, I owned land on a private road on a lake. I own the road. They have a right of way to go across it, my road association does, in order to maintain that road. But until we get people to form road committees and to get the roads up to date, up to Class B standards, is it?
believe it's Class B to be
Class
accepted
B
at
to be
town
accepted by
meeting.
the town?
That's big.
Yeah, all right, until we can get them up to Class B standards, we cannot adopt them. This board cannot do that. The town meeting cannot do that unless it meets the letter of the law. But there is money, if you have a road association, that you can apply for that money. Right now, there's $120,000 they're willing to give Lake Shore Drive to fix that problem that's going in there. But until, and that would include Buzzell, because it comes right down off of Buzzell and goes down into
But
the
only
water.
to a certain point.
Right, but they would be willing to grant you that money if you had a committee, a road committee, where everybody agreed and everybody signed over right away, so that becomes a public or a private road, but it's owned by an association. When you have these roads where this guy says, yes, you can have it right away, the next guy says, no, you can have it right away, what are we gonna do? Drive in, plow up to here and stop? Or drive in and grade up to here and stop? You have to form the road associations within your road area. And it doesn't have to be one road. My road association has 26 miles of roads and a bridge. And we go around 9 lakes. And we pay $150 a year, and my roads are better than some of the roads in Acton. And we have our own gravel pit. But we have an annual meeting, we vote on what we're gonna do on the roads, and that's all we do. We just take care of the roads. If you brought your roads up to the standards my roads are, up there, they would all be accepted by the town. And then they would be doing all the plowing and grading. But to keep coming up and trying to get roads put on without going through the proper procedure, I mean, the law is there, the
But
ordinance
I'm not
is there.
talking about a private road. I'm talking about
Buzzell
the
Road.
part of Buzzell Road
Yeah, and that's
that is
private.
owned by the town.
No, the other part, you're talking about
No, I'm
before the
talking
last
about-
section that goes down into Lake Shore?
No. I'm talking about the part of the road that is owned by the town. That's what I'm not talking about private roads.
Well, part of Buzzell Road is private.
Part of it is,
Yeah.
not where I live.
Okay.
It's still owned by the town.
Okay.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that,
All right, so if you're talking about that road, then what we have to do is do what we did with San Pedro. We have to go before the town, write an article, and get the money in order to bring the you're talking about getting paved and things like that, right? Yeah.
Now, is this committee that writes those
No, that'd be
articles
the
to be
road committee.
presented?
The road committee,
Well, not according to what the chief said. The road committee makes a recommendation, you guys write the article, right? So you guys are responsible for writing the article,
right,
correct?
the road committee has to
Okay.
do the research and bring it to our attention,
All right.
okay?
But that's
So
what I'm saying.
if the road committee meets this year, and I've already told them this, that if they bring us a legal warrant article, I'd be more than happy to put it on either the school board, and I think we all agree, either on the school board meeting or next summer's town meeting.
Sorry.
And they said that they would like to wait till next summer. So, I mean, you need to talk to the road committee and then get this thing going. I'd be more than happy to put it out there for the people to vote, but we cannot put out another illegal warrant article.
Ted,
Yeah,
the ordinance, the road ordinance also requires the road to be recommended, but it has to be approved by an engineer. It has to be examined by an engineer. That's in our road ordinance.
right. But if you have a
Then you
road,
can put it on.
if you have a road committee and DEP is going to give you money, they're going to give you free engineers too. So I mean, there's a way for people to get their roads approved, but it can't be through the process of us bringing illegal warrants in before the town and then, we can't just vote a road in that way if it's not acceptable to the road.
Well, have the
ordinance.
warrants that have been brought before the town all been written by the committee, the selectmen?
I haven't, the only one I wrote was the one for the special, well, I didn't even actually write it, we had the attorney write it. The only one that was written since I've been in office is the one that we just did at the emergency town meeting in order to get the reevaluation done. So that's the only one I've been involved with. But we're, if it comes to us as a legal warrant, we're more than happy to put it forward. Because like I say, I own lakefront property on a private road, and I know your issue. But I also know there's nothing this board can do unless it comes to us in a legal way. Okay? Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Couple of points.
Yeah.
One is, maybe I misunderstood you, Larissa, when you made the statement that we do a line item budget for the roads, and we don't.
Not a line item, no, but we do have separated out, plowing and sanding is
Oh,
one
I
section,
appreciate that.
stockpile is another section, maintenance, building and
But that's not
maintenance.
considered a line item budget.
You are correct.
That was just, the other thing is, hopefully, the selectmen will, I wasn't gonna say anything about this because it just happened, not let people in the audience harass or say negative things to people that want to come up and speak. Like just happened to me.
Okay.
The other thing is...
If we hear it, we won't allow it.
Okay, thank you. I respectfully ask the selectmen There's a gentleman in town that moved into town quite a few years ago, and you all know him pretty well. And he started out volunteering for the kids in town and substituted the school for quite a few years. And former Selectman, Tony Cogliandro. He is getting a very prestigious promotion in his karate to Grand Master. And that is very, it's a real big deal. Through my research, I believe that there's only one other person in the state of Maine that is a Grand Master. I was reading this thing down in Rhode Island, this guy that just got promoted to that. And he got a letter from the governor, from the state senate, the town council, and different ones like that, just like congratulations and stuff like that. So I would respectfully ask the board.
Can you get us the information? The title and what it's about and everything?
Yes,
Could you
I
get
would,
that?
Ted.
Okay, sure.
They're giving him that promotion this weekend in Rhode Island.
Okay.
And it really is a huge accomplishment.
And I would
to be
contact the
Grand
NASA's too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome, Dennis.
Any other business? I think Barbara Seeker is next, Mr. Hodgson.
Barbara Seeker.
How are you,
I'm
ma'am?
going to talk about the cable a little bit because I'm very anxious to see it go live. I've been attending Selectmen's meetings for about 10 years, and to my knowledge, nobody's used foul language or streaked across in front of anything, unfortunately. But anyway, if you had a disclaimer from the people who come up to speak, I think you'd be covered
Well,
for
I'm not-
anything that goes live.
Yeah, I'm not really worried about the liability because MMA says we don't really have to worry about it either, and it is cable, and I don't think any of the FCC guys are watching our channel, but we still need more people to volunteer, and we have to make that effort to have somebody in there to shut that switchboard off. So we need
Right.
2 people for Selectmen's meeting. We won't be able to go live, correct me if I'm wrong, we won't be able to go live at the school or anything, and it's only here that we could go live? Yeah, so it'll only be meetings here that could be live. We couldn't go, the school couldn't go live, but we get more.
Originally, the plan for the cable was for the school department to have their own equipment
Mm-hmm.
and tape their own whatevers.
But their own equipment might not have been, was it also to include what is it?
Studio.
Studio, but also the uploading?
I have no idea. All I know is that they were going to do their own. And whatever their own includes is whatever. But this is the most important one first, because you have to get out to the people what's going on with the various boards in town.
Correct.
Okay?
Yep.
And what we're seeing right now is some garbage that was on over a month ago. And I think even if it was a week or 10 days late, I think it'd be acceptable.
So
But not what's now.
Last Thursday's meeting isn't on yet?
Nope,
Okay.
nope.
It's on right now? Oh, during our meeting?
That was convenient. That was convenient, Brian.
And Barbara, if we would like to see more timely events happen, we need more volunteers. I mean, it really,
Well, I've been talking it up to people, and apparently they can't make the time that there is time in the office to be taught what they need to know.
we will continue to ask for volunteers. I'm sure that the staff at the cable department will be more than happy to meet with people if it meant that they could be trained.
Thank you.
Mr. Hodgson?
You could always invite the school department to have their meetings here, and that would take care of their needs. But my comment that I came up here to make was in regards to what Mr. Lopez said, the liability. If you allow vehicles that are working for the town to use these private roads to get from point A to point B, and they don't drop their plows, they're going to be turning these roads to ice. By so doing, the town will be thus creating a dangerous situation. If someone goes off the road and gets hurt, their car gets stove all up or whatever. the town probably will be held liable for that because they created the situation.
Where would that occur, Mr. Hodgson?
That could occur on 13th Street.
13th Street, we have a full easement to given to us by 13th Street in 1998 that gives us full access to go over the road to enter to Covewood.
We're even the landowners in that.
We own property on Covewood, and in 1998, the town was granted a 50-foot wide easement to traverse 13th Street from 109 to the end. So we have that on file.
And we're working on getting that set up so that we can plow that section to get to Covewood. From what I'm hearing, Covewood's the only one in the state.
Only one in the state.
Only one in the state where they voted a road on the end, or halfway down a private road, voted that road town road, and the other one, they didn't vote town road.
Well,
So we have to plow Covewood.
Lakeside Drive from Buzzell Road, according to you, is a private road.
Yep.
And according to the research that the road committee did and presented to you, it's a town road.
But according to town meeting, it's not. So we have to clean it up at town meeting, and we will do so.
But in the meantime, you're setting yourself up for a liability. If somebody gets hurt on that road, if your trucks are going across it with the plows in the air, and you create a slippery, icy situation.
Noted.
Thank you, sir. Almost.
Elaine Beck. I just wanted to ask you something that's applicable to the tax rate.
Yes.
Sure.
One of the questions, the major question I have is, whatever happened to the $217,000 penalty to the town of Acton because we didn't consolidate? We were told at a special meeting by the superintendent that there was a very strong possibility we would get that back, and I don't see it reflected here.
You're right, and the reason is because they only told us it was a strong possibility, and we have this whole process the school has to go through.
Right.
Before all we were told is we have a donut hole, but then you have to file an alternative plan.
Right.
So they're in the process of the alternative plan. Now, there's no guarantee they're going to approve the alternative plan, but if they do, then we get the money.
Has that been submitted?
I'm not sure. You would have to ask the school committee that, because I'm not on the committee anymore. I know they were working on it, and they had a deadline. I think the deadline was the end of the fiscal year, so I'm sure it's in. But then it takes the Department of Ed time. So if we were to put that in there, that we were getting that, and then not get it, it would be the same thing as what happened last year. The state told us at this time of year we were going to get
335,661.
and then you saw how many cuts the state did. The school only got 75,000. So the school actually had to go into a freeze last year in order to make it through because they lost all this state money. So if they do get it, then it comes back into undesignated fund. They can't spend it. So next year we'll be able to use it to offset the taxes next year.
And the alternative plan that the school committee had to submit
Right.
was to show where they would reduce cost
Right.
by a certain percentage.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, and what that means is they had to, and they're doing a lot of it already, they had to work with the Sanford school system for busing, which they do for special ed kids. This year, they lowered the amount of days the special ed director is working, and the Sanford high school special ed director is taking over our high school students. We buy all the paper products and a lot of other things with Sanford in bulk, including oil, right? And so they're saving a lot of money. But your best bet to ask about the school finances is to go to them, because we just get the numbers that are voted at the school town meeting, and then they give them to us, and we have to put them in, because it's a separate governing body.
But that's a substantial amount of money that the taxpayers have had to cover here.
Well, yes, but
And
you
I
have
would
to...
think that that would be something that would be very important to our selectmen as well. And maybe perhaps we can initiate as a town some strong follow-up as to the status of our, of what the school submitted. Because there was a meeting one night that we all went to, and I think there was maybe 5 of us in the audience that night. And he indicated that very strongly, that they thought we would get it back. And they were asked point blank at that meeting, and I think it was recorded, if they would have it filed by a certain date, and he said he promised that it would.
Well, they had to. If they hadn't filed it by the end of the fiscal year, then they wouldn't have gotten the donut hole status, so they had to do that. But again, the finances of the school have nothing to do with us, so you need to go to a school board meeting and talk to them about it, because it's a completely different governing body, and we can't do anything about it. But, so you understand that they lost over $200,000 last year that was put forward for taxes, to release taxes, and it didn't come in. And the state, as you know, is looking to cut us some more right now. So if we were to add in that $217,000, I think it was, if we were to add that in now and reduce the taxes, and then they don't give it to us, then we're going to be in trouble
I
as a town. And
understand.
okay.
I
The
understand.
other thing,
You don't want to, steal from Peter to pay
no,
Paul.
no. But the other thing is,
I think the town should really try to initiate some strong pushing on trying to get this money back.
Just so you know, Elaine, yesterday when I spoke to Mr. Hadley, he's our superintendent, on the phone to just confirm that these are the numbers he wanted us to be using for the commitment, I did ask him about that. I said, this number of $73,088, I thought, we were going to have the donut hole exemption. Doesn't that prevent us from having the penalty? Doesn't that cause money to come back in? And he said, yes, but just like Ted said, we're not through that process yet. We're getting there. If we're denied, we don't want to give you that figure and be high. So the board did check with Mr. Hadley prior to commitment to see where that status was.
So the status right now is that the report that was submitted by the school
has to be okayed by the Department of
in
Education.
which they were going to show how they had an alternative plan to reduce costs.
Correct.
And if that is accepted, then the town can expect to see $217,000 returned to the school budget.
I'm not sure how much the money is, but yes, and it's in that area.
Yeah.
But yes,
Subject to
and what
state
it actually
cuts.
will do is it's going to pay the last payment of the school, because we have one more payment, and before the state money always covered the school payment. This year, because it's only $75,000, it doesn't cover it.
But we, as a town, will see that
Yes, because then
coming
the money,
somewhere back to the town.
it'll be in their undesignated fund at the end of the year, because they can't spend it on anything else. Okay?
Thank you.
Sure. How are you, ma'am?
Good. I've owned property in Acton since 1986. I've been attending select meetings for years. I am so tired of the same people monopolizing the mic, asking the same question over and over, getting the same answers, and stepping back up and holding us all hostage like they did last week. And if it keeps up, people will not come. If they have anything specific that pertains to them that they're concerned about, there is a workshop that the selectmen have, and as you said, there is a process whereby they can submit their concerns and get an answer. There's no need of keeping us all hostage for personal questions, and I'm tired of it, tired of it.
Thank you, Marion.
Thank you. No. I don't want to go back to meetings like that. Let's please not do that. It is, but there's a point where it gets to the point where we're back divided and everything else. Everybody has a right to speak, and we're going to allow you that to a point, and we're going to run the meeting. But you don't have the right to freedom of speech at this microphone unless we allow it. So if people are going to get off track, and we will close that down. But I don't want to get into this, I like what you said, so I'm going to clap, and I like what you said, I'm going to clap. This is a professional meeting, and we're going to run it as so, or we're going to ask you to leave. With that, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion or announcements? All in favor?
Aye.